Hi, Jason. Hi, Jenna. How are you?
Hi there. How are
Good.
you?
It's good. I'm doing great. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me. I really appreciate it. The film's a lot of fun. WHARF Rats is a lot of fun. Um, I was wondering, from the two of you, what is it that attracted you to this particular film?
I think, from the beginning, we just wanted to make something that felt really fun and silly and light. So that was one thing we were focused on. And then, given that we're from a fairly small coastal community and we were working with a very small budget, we wanted to find a location that we felt could really shine through as like a character in itself. And we found that in the village. So the two things that we focused on when we were trying to decide what we wanted to make next.
Sorry, Jason. I'm sorry. You cut out a little bit there. I was just, you were talking about where you were shooting. I missed that.
Yeah. So we wanted to find a place that could really stand nurture as well in the film, and we found that in Rustico. So those were the two things that really prompted us to come up with this particular story.
Yeah, now you're saying that you're both from the coastal communities. Is that right? So maybe can we talk a little bit about the coastal community, because it really seems to be almost like I admit I'm from Newmarket outside Toronto, but they're very different worlds. So what is it about this particular community and world that sets it apart in your eyes?
I guess there's just sort of there's a combination of things, you can have family and have lineages of family that stay in some of these small communities for a fairly long time. So I always found that fascinating because there's carryover in terms of like what could be tensions and conflicts or friendships and loves, and it just sort of it can sort of percolate to the top, something that's maybe existed there, like a relationship that's existed there for a very long time. So the close-knit nature of it, the way that people stay there and their families stay there for a long time, those were some of the things that we felt really would made the coastal communities interesting for storytelling.
Yeah, and this isn't unique to a coastal community, but in the community like Rustico, which is, it exists everywhere in a small town. There's one of everything. And it's a seasonal community for the most part. So fishing for Rustico is one of the main industries. So in the summer, things are really busy, but in the winter, it's sort of a different pace and a different way of life. There's more tourists in the summer. So things really have a cycle. And, there's one gas station, there's one store, one post office. So like Jason's saying, everybody's kind of up in everybody's business in a great way as well, and like in a supporting if something happens, your neighbor's right there, and also in a great way, which is great for mining stories.
Yeah, there's this sort of not just because of the key relationships going on, but there's sort of a generational feel that I noticed within the characters. Just it's really interesting.
That's something that Jason, I think, did a good job at, like sort of navigating the comedy, but also the real reality that the fishing industry has changed a lot. And that's something that, of course, the relationship with Crystal Dawn and her father and the idea of having to sell this boat to save the family and what the symbolism of that really is and how huge that is to sort of break many lines of fishing families because it's not the same as it used to be. So I thought Jason and the guys did a good job at sort of navigating the silly, but also the real in terms of what these fishermen and similar communities, fisher people, are going through.
Yeah, that's got to be really tough on a community to have something so specific and so time-based, seasonal-based is in terms of the primary industry for sure.
Yeah.
There's another interesting conversation going on within this film, and it's sort of what it seems to be, what it takes to be a fisherman, or even a man. Like there's even him being coached how to, this is what men do sort of thing. But I was wondering to the both of you, what that means to you and why that was important to the script.
Do you want to take that one, Jay? Or is he frozen? Oh, he's gone.
You get this one.
It's up to me.
Love to hear it. Jenna, tell us.
Well, I mean, as the the female on the production team, I thought that was kind of an interesting. It was definitely a fluid conversation between myself and the guys, and obviously, the joke is that Hughie's trying to teach Martin how to be a man, but the person who teaches them how to be a fisher person is Crystal Dawn, who's the actual fisher person. So I think that's sort of sorry, I tried to pass it off to you and then you disappeared. But yeah, I think that's something the guys, play with, is that these weird masculine tropes end up being sort of completely thrown out the window, and the person who treats them about character or teaches Hughie about character is Martin and Crystal Dawn, the people that are, quote unquote, not the masculine stereotype. So yeah, I thought that was kind of a fun way of poking that particular theme.
Yeah, I think Crystal Dawn actually was my favorite character.
Yeah, mine too.
Yeah, I think in hindsight, we all love her.
Yeah.
She's so much fun, and of all of the characters, she's also the one that seems the most grounded. Like everybody's off on these wild tangents or plots or subplots, and she's just trying to get through the day.
She just wants to go to work. Yeah.
Yeah, we really wanted to try to balance the silly with like serious a little bit. And, we really wanted to try to have whoever was going to represent the local fishing community film feel more like a real person rather than a cartoon, like some of the leads do in their adventures.
Yeah. And she's great. She does a great job. This may be a little bit obscure as a question, maybe, I admit, but it's one thing I think is sort of comes up a few times in the film. I was wondering the power of a lie, because it seems like everybody in this film is lying to one another almost. Crystal Dawn, who cuts through all of this stuff.
Yeah.
But I was wondering to you what you see as the power of a lie in this, in the either the damage that it does or is it in some cases the good? I'm not entirely sure.
Oh, that's a good question.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that I guess we wanted to start with. Oh yeah, that's a tough one. It's the power of a lie. I mean, certainly, when we went into it, like the idea, I suppose, or the simple idea was that, you don't want to lie necessarily. Like that would be, the easy thematic way out. But, there's all kinds of examples, I think, like Martin's mother, who tries to lie for good reasons, that in the end actually sort of helped Martin a little bit. Like he got out into the world, he made friends, he did all these things, all because she said that she was dying when she wasn't, that he had to leave home. So I guess, in the end, I guess it's just, relationships are complex, and they sort of exist in, this space where, sometimes, the relationship is totally about honesty, and sometimes it's about not being totally honest, not in a negative lying way, but, maybe you don't have to tell your best friend or somebody or your mother or your father, like the total truth, if it's just going to be, devastating to no good cause, I suppose.
Yeah. And I think it's kind of interesting that the character who's arguably lied to the most is Martin, and he's the one who's the most willing to forgive. And so that's kind of an interesting lesson. And I think our big reason is Hugh is a self-sabotager. So he often lies to his own detriment. And I think it's surprising to him in the end that, again, this guy that he's hurt so much is the first one to say, like, it's okay. So, yeah, I think there is a lot there that they explore in terms of of lying and the many reasons that humans do it every day.
Yeah, you talk about that scene, and I like the line where he's being forgiven, and he goes, "Really? I've done a lot of stuff."
Yeah, are you sure you know everything I did?
You sure? Like,
yeah,
I know. And it's like, oh, yes, you have. Now you both have grown up in sort of coastal towns. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about the fishing aspect, the wharf rat culture, but was there anything that you learned through this process or something you experienced that you didn't know building up for it?
Yeah, like to be totally honest, I mean, I grew up in that, not really quite in that world, you know. Like my parents didn't fish, my grandparents did, but I didn't really have a close connection to that world. But you know, I grew up close enough that I had seen it, but I didn't really know anything about it. I had never been out lobster fishing. I had never seen the whole process through, you know, what happens when they pull them out of the water, where they go. So, you know, one of the first things that I did actually is I met somebody in the community, and they had me get up at like, I don't know, 3:30 a.m. or something. And we went out and pulled traps up and put bands on lobsters and weighed them. I did that for an entire day just to sort of see what a work day looks like for them, and how that world functions. So, I mean, the amount of work is incredible, but that was really eye-opening to me.
Yeah, and I would jump in too. I think the fact that we actually shot in a fishing community, so you know, there are 2 lobster seasons, and we were shooting, you know, outside of the lobster season, but all of the fish, the sea shanties are there. The fishermen are kind of hanging out. So that actually gave a level of authenticity that shows up on screen, but also really impacted our actors' performances. Like, a lot of these people had never experienced fishing either. And so, like Jason, we had a couple of the leads learn how to rope from a real fisherman. And I think that just undercut some of the potential silliness that could lead to inauthentic performances, because it was really hard to not be grounded when we were literally immersed in this community. And we wanted to pay service and respect and not mock these people. It was really important to us that it was, you know, we were honoring them. Our production office was in the fire hall. We had meetings down where the fire trucks were. So it was like, we couldn't have been more inside of this town. And I think that helped us a lot, because like Jason, I grew up in the city. So I didn't have a lot of fishing connections, and I was absolutely floored when I started to learn more and more about the lobster fishing industry specifically. Yeah.
Yeah, you get the sense that the film really is sort of a love letter to the town of New York, as they say. But
real urban story.
Yeah. But no, it there at no time do you feel like you're making fun of the world, but of the people within it, like these particular characters. So, yeah, that definitely comes across. You know, just as we start to wrap up here, I was wondering for you both, what is it that you hope audiences take away from the film? What do you hope they understand, whether it's story wise or about this particular world?
I guess first and foremost for me, it's just that it's a bit of a romp. So like, I hope people just sort of have a fun time watching it, you know, at its simplest. If they take something from it, you know, maybe something along the lines of, you know, that, you know, this world is like a very fun and fascinating place, you know, not just the fictional one that we created, but, you know, the Maritimes in general.
Yeah, I would echo that. I think, you know, sometimes when there are stories from the East Coast, it can end up being like a butt of a joke situation. But I think what I'd love is for people to just like celebrate this really, really cool industry that feeds us, and people can come away with an appreciation of how hard that work is, and yeah, just what a cool group of people we're representing.
I really appreciate that. Honestly, the film's a lot of fun, and I thank you both so much for the chance to talk about it. How is WHARF Rats going straight to VOD? Is it going to be in theaters?
Straight to VOD. Yeah.
Okay. Wonderful. Okay, great.
Thank
All
you.
right. All right. Thanks to you both.
All right, thank you so much.